Yeah, we are live. Yes, education is elevation. We're here for another episode of Office Hours. We know June is Pride Month. It's also Juneteenth. It also is Men's Mental Health Month. A lot of people like to talk riffraff about picking whether you are black or whether you're gay or whether you're a woman and making sure that you stick with something first. So today I thought we would have a nice inclusive conversation about uh, being an ally, about Pride Month, about pronouns, about HIV awareness, about a few different things, man. I got some special people with me today. We got something in store for y'all as well, and you know what I'm saying, coming up, y'all will see that. But I have these amazing people right here. You know, Jay the Giant, Jay the Giant, Jay the Giant. He you know what I'm saying. I'm gonna give y'all a disclaimer. Jay is going to say some things that is going to be very unfiltered. And if you know what I'm saying, find yourself clutching your pearls a few times, it is all out of love. And it is what I call purposeful provocativeness. You know what I'm saying? And then Hope Giselle, I don't think she need any introduction. But in this conversation, I feel like things are going to come out as well. And I feel like it's just going to be good because we need to have more conversations of, you know, gay black men, trans black women, straight black men, being able to have, you feel me, inclusive conversation and one that is not like too bullshit where we like, I feel like we're gonna have a real conversation. You know what I'm saying? Right. Jumping right out of it though. When y'all see dialogue on the internet specifically about now, Jay, is you black or is you gay first? Hope, is you black first or is you trans first? And before y'all respond, because Hope, you sent this to me, and I thought that it's a great way to kind of jump into it. You know what I'm saying? So just let me put this up real quick. You know what I mean? Because hey, sometimes you gotta choose. That sounds nasty to say it like that, but you know, here it is. Make sure. Yeah, I see it.
Why can't y'all put down the gay stuff and put down the trans stuff for a little bit and let's just fight the black cause, right? And I've heard that. And my response to that was, I can't put it down because I'm black and I am gay simultaneously. And I am fighting for my life on this hand for being black, fighting for my life on this hand for being gay. How can I choose one over the other? I would be willing to subordinate my fight being gay and put that on the back burner if I could find safety and refuge amongst the black community. But I can't. And I said to my two straight homeboys, and these are two guys that I love, I said, black men, there is a conversation that y'all need to have amongst each other. A, why y'all don't have any respect for one another and are so willing to kill one another. B, why y'all don't have respect for black women and you see them as objects and disposable and less than. C, why the presence of anything homosexual or trans just completely rattles you and gets your panties in a damn bunch. He was like, you know, why can't y'all put down the gay stuff?
Yeah, so that is the conversation. How we gonna start the conversation? I think it's very, you know, I feel like appropriate in a very inappropriate way to just go and jump right into it. Floor is y'all's.
Don't look at Jay. You looking at me even though you're not looking at
me.
And that's so annoying.
Square in your face.
So I think the thing for me is I feel very much so the same way that Funky Dineva feels, and I don't often agree with Funky. I had to block Funky
because you know Funky personally, don't you?
Yeah, I know Q, right? Like y'all know Funky, I know Q. And I often don't agree with him, and I even had to block him on social media after a couple of the comments that he made on another show. But anyway, I agree with this. And I think that one of the things that people fail to realize is that as Black queer people, the second that you find out that I am queer, my Blackness is then null and void in Black conversations. And folks don't realize that. When I am navigating the world and I use my own situation as a reference for this, right? When I was on a particular show on a particular network and I was with Dr. Umar, there were so many women in those comments that were like, oh my God, yes, Hope is speaking. Girl, you better talk that talk. Say the things of the things of the things of the things. The second that they realized that I was trans, it wasn't, oh, what Hope said was wrong. It was, oh, that man can't speak for me. And oh, you don't understand the experiences. Or, oh, this conversation was about Black men and women, as if to say that I'm not Black at all, so I don't have a say-so in this conversation because I'm trans, right? And so to Dineva's point, if there was safety in the idea of just talking about my Blackness and having that conversation be an isolated one for me, I wouldn't have an issue not talking about transness because I would feel safe in the space where I'm Black. But because I can't feel safe in the space where I'm Black, I have to also remind Black people when I'm talking about Black issues that I am a trans person. I can't talk about what it means to want to go to Ghana because they're inviting everybody back home without also reminding you that in Ghana, it's literally against the law for me to exist. So I can be happy about the idea of going back home. I can be happy about the idea that they want us to come there and live for free. But I have to also remind you that when I get off the plane, should somebody sniff out or whiff out of who I am, then I could be beheaded and ain't nobody gonna give a fuck. And those are two realities that I have to sit with at the same time, and to not talk about that or to be asked not to talk about them in real time in that situation. I've had people say, well, this isn't the time to talk about that LGBT shit. We're talking about going back home to Africa, as if my Blackness mixed in with my transness is not worthy of the conversation at the same time.
Jay, as a gay Black man, and you chose, hey man, that gay shit is for that time. Now you gotta be talking about being Black. Like what's your response to that as well?
I agree fully with what Hope said about in Black spaces. I have to intentionally hold my Blackness and my gayness at the same time because otherwise there is no safety created for that experience. I absolutely agree with that. But I do think Black, queer, and LGBTQIA plus people take it one step further because we often are in white gay spaces where we have to hold our Blackness and our sexuality at the same time because our Blackness is not safe in those spaces. And so I find in my experience that I have to walk this very, very fine line of ensuring that I can create my own safety in either these gay spaces that are not built for Black people or Black spaces that are not built for gay people. And the hard part about this, the hardest part is it feels like I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't, because both of these cultures want me to put off something so that I can fight their fight. They want me to put off my gayness in Black spaces so we can Juneteenth it up, or they want me to put off my Blackness in gay spaces so I can march in a parade. And I don't want to do either of those because I don't have authentic safety. And so it just ends up being very, very difficult for us to just navigate that to where a lot of times, if you notice, that is why Black gay pride has to have a space for itself so that we can be all of these things at the same time. I don't get the Juneteenth, and I don't get, and we in our culture it's white pride because if it ain't Black, it's white. So we create our own space so that we can be both halves of this coin at the same time.
So in keeping the conversation going, Funky said something specifically about straight Black men needing to have a conversation amongst ourselves. Just out of curiosity, what would be some of those specific things that I need to be able to bring up in the conversation to make it where I'm being intentional about how we create those more safer spaces in Black spaces, particularly for Black queer, Black trans, Black intersex, Black non-conforming people, for like straight niggas. Because that's what I recognize what he said, and I think that I agree with everything y'all said. and not trying to make where I'm making y'all doing too much labor. And feel free to be like, hey, bro, this is what we do. Feel free. I don't hope I'm gonna do it anyway, but I'm making sure, like, hey, nigga, if I'm asking too much, call me out now. But just out of curiosity, like, what would the conversation be about if it was one that was intentional about making where it's safe amongst Black men?
I think that because I think we're having a conversation on social media right now where a lot of Black men, a lot of Black cisgender heterosexual men specifically, but cisgender as a whole, because some gay men are just as problematic, have had this conversation where they thought that what they were going to do is we gonna decenter Pride this year and remind them that June is men's mental health, right? Like, this is the first time that I've really seen like a huge push for like men's mental health month, right? And I think that that is intentional. But the problem is what happened is that now it's backfiring, because y'all are being reminded that these two things are deeply interconnected. Your homophobia, your transphobia, your homomisia, your transmisia is deeply rooted in the reason why a lot of y'all have mental health issues to begin with. The idea that you are being suppressed and that your masculinity has to show up in a specific way and that you can't speak like this and you can't do this and you want to wear your shoes like this, but you can't, and you want to talk like that, but women don't like men that talk like that, and you got to show up in this particular way. And so now you feel like you got to bottle all these things up, and men can't talk to each other, and I can't say this to my daddy, and I ain't never had a hug. And all of that shit stems from you all's version of homo and transmisia, because nobody don't want to be gay, nobody don't want to show emotions, nobody don't want to do X, Y, and Z. And in the attempt to decenter Pride Month and be like, oh, well, what about men this year, right? Like, fuck those gay people. Let's talk about men. It's men's mental health month, right? All you've done is sink deeper into why it's important to celebrate Pride and why it's important to make sure that we're moving away from tropes that don't serve anybody. It doesn't serve anybody to sit into this ideation that there's only one way to be a man, and yet you do it, even though you don't like the way that women tell you that the way that you decide to be a man isn't masculine. It doesn't serve you to sit around and poke your chest out and be that nigga all day, every day, because now you got a son that don't want to talk to you because he doesn't experience love from you. But you feel some type of way about that, and that shit fucks with you, and that eats at your mental health. But we don't want to have that conversation because that's gay. And those things are intersectionally locked with the same thing that y'all were trying to get away from. And now you have to have a conversation about how your homophobia is affecting you as a man and your mental health in this same month.
It reminded me of this video I seen my boy AG. He said, heterosexuality for men is not just a thing that you just be in. You got to prove you straight every single day.
Every day.
And the exhaustion of having to prove you straight every single day, I think it's the thing that impacts the way that a lot of heterosexual cisgender men show up in allyship, because they believe they allyship will some way, you feel me, impact how they straightness is seen. Because again, I gotta prove them straight every second. If there's a second I forget to prove I'm straight, somebody gonna try to negotiate my heterosexuality, and in the hood, you might get dominated for that. Before you talk, Jay, because Hope says some things, and I know sometimes you feel me. I'm hoping that this live brings in more male audience as well, a straight male audience. So sometimes they don't listen to women, trans women, cis women. They don't listen. So I got just a little snippet, just a little snippet of a little some, because I think Hope says some things that I know Jay gonna be able to add to as well. But let's make sure we stir in the pot just a little bit more.
Pride Month has mastered their craft.
Oh, shit.
Mental Health Awareness Month on Gay Pride Month has mastered their craft, because the male loneliness epidemic is our reward for centuries of homophobia. The two things are forever linked. Nobody supports men's mental health. Yeah, because holding up the next man is gay, right? You can see it even as young as kids like 6, 7, 8 years old. I do a lot of mentorship, right? They are absolutely terrified to be caught by their peers doing anything that's associated with femininity, even things like gentleness, kindness, thoughtfulness, right? Under fear of being called gay or not manly enough. And this thought process only gets more warped and twisted the older they get. Liking women too much is considered gay. If I was to get on this app right here and start talking about, I love women so much, the way they smell, the way they look, the way they talk, the way they act, That's how I feel about black women. But if I were to make a 5-minute video about it, right, what are people going to call me? Soft, panderer, beta male, a lesser man, gay. Now, homophobia at this point has created a vacuum where men can only fill it with things like loneliness, isolation, hypermasculinity, hypersexuality. Why is that? Because the only straight way to show affection is with a romantic partner. And this typically creates two realities. Either one, you end up burdening the other person with the entirety of your mental and emotional well-being, right? Or two, because you've cut off these thoughts and feelings for so long, you're unable to emotionally express yourself. I get so irritable sometimes when people be like, oh, men are better friends than women. We don't be falling out over nothing. We should. We need to fall out about more. Only spaces you can show affection to another man in are sports and music, right? Like if I were to say, oh, my best friend is 6 years, I haven't seen him in a month, man. I can't wait to see him later on tonight. That would be quite queer of me. But if I were to say, oh, I can't wait to see Gunna in concert later on tonight, that's totally socially acceptable. Like I used to be a college athlete, and one of my friends is a wide receiver at UCLA, and we walking around campus one day, and people are coming up just, oh my gosh, bro, you went crazy last night, you so da da da. And it's an audience primarily of men showing love and affection because it's within the context of sports, and that's socially acceptable. As soon as that context is removed, so is the love and affection, right? And I think that's why so many people turn into absolute burnouts as soon as their sporting careers are over. Going from experiencing camaraderie, affection, kindness every single day between your teammates and your general community to just zero in day-to-day life is jarring, bro. The average man can name an obscure compliment they received platonically 3 years ago because it's so rare that they receive one. You've ever just been outside with a woman, you know their reality is completely different. They're constantly being showered with comments and giving them, right? I love your hair. I love your glasses. I love your eyes. I love your smile, right? And I think sometimes this can create a twinge of jealousy that you see a lot, especially on the internet, right? Where people feel like, oh, women's lives are so much easier. No, the biggest difference is that as a straight man, it's not enough to just be straight. You have to prove you're straight every single day. That is not natural. I'm not hard to smut nobody.
It's not natural. I ain't gonna, you know what I'm saying? If you want to catch the rest of that video, you definitely should go look at AG on TikTok, or you can go to my Instagram page with that. Damo has a quote right here, Jay. I think it fits well in what we're getting into. On this mentality of, you know, riding for your niggas and lying to your bitch, or, you know what I'm saying, being able to always tell the truth to, you know what I'm saying? And of course, it's like within straight male culture, as a gay black man. What are your thoughts?
So my thoughts are a lot pettier than the master's level dissertation that Hope Giselle Gossi gave us. So I'm gonna just give it to you how I know it. And one thing that I know is the straight men in my life, in a lot of my friends' lives, that are absolutely straight, like unequivocally straight, never have to prove anything. Like when I think about my brother, my baby brother, who, you know, he and his wife are married, have a beautiful child together. When I think about you, Conscious, I never, I your sexuality is never in question because you just gave up the fight. Like I don't know if you intentionally did that, but I don't think that your sexuality is threatened by mine, and mine for damn sure ain't threatened by yours. And Deion Sanders, I do like for you, Funky for you, Hope is Deion Sanders for me. But he has one quote that I said that I live by. And he says, if a man has to prove he is the man, then he is therefore proving that he is not the man. Because a man who is the man just is the man. And so if you have to prove any aspect of yourself, if you have to prove anything about yourself, then you are therefore saying that I am not that. So now let me find something external to myself so I can justify being that. If you were secure in your sexuality, anybody, I am secure in my hetero, in my gayness, and I never have to prove that to anybody. And so the idea that a straight man has to prove it to other straight people, to gay people, to people that are of trans experience, to people that are anything different than him, is justifying the fact that his insecurity is on full display. And I think that the
Can I push
interesting thing
back?
about, of course, go ahead.
Let me push back on that, because I think that to that degree, there are going to be some people in the comments that are going to say, well, then why do trans people have to da 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 da? And what I think that a lot of cishet men, and especially cishet men of color with a scope in on black men, don't realize is that a lot of y'all have more in common with trans people than y'all know.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh,
it's the
hell yeah.
fact that you do that, right? There is a need to do that because there's safety and people being able to prove and to come behind and justify and hone in on the fact that you are that nigga. The reason why there is a need to do those things, because without that, you lose your safety. And once you're out of the arc of safety, you are then treated like the very same people that you are spending your entire fucking livelihood trying to make it seem like they're tertiary citizens. So there is a reason why a lot of these cishet men are like, oh, I'm straight, I'm this, I'm that, I'm da 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 da. Because when you can't say it for yourself, your sister, your baby mama, your cousins, and them are gonna be like, no, my brother would never. It's about setting up the my brother would never, my sister would never, my da 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 would never, so that way when a person catches you nevering like never before, you have a bandwagon of people that's going to be able to justify that. The same way that a lot of transgender people are like, I have to get as many of you on my side to be able to understand that I'm one of the good trans people, so that when these people come over and try to take away my manhood, take away my womanhood, tell me that I'm not this, tell me that I'm not that, I have enough people in the bandwagon that are willing to say, oh no, because my friend is X, Y, and Z, and she deserves to be treated like so and so, and he deserves to be treated like a man, and fuck how he came into existence, and all of these different things. And so in the same way that trans people are often spending a lot of our time trying to justify what we know to be true, cishet men are often doing that for the same reason. There is a safety in having a community of people that have bought into your justification to keep you protected when the world starts to say, I don't know if you different, like, and there's something safe in that, and I think that that's the reason for the justification.
Now I absolutely agree, but I would just offer that all of that just sounds very low self-awareness to me. And I think that the most evolved straight people in my life, men or women, do not feel the need to prove anything. And men, women, or people of trans experience, because the most evolved people in my perfect example is when the first time I met Hope Giselle Gotzi, right? I see a woman. And so what do I, my masculinity activates, and so I'm over here opening doors and holding her hand as she walk up the stairs, just because she didn't have anything to prove to me in that instance. I don't have anything to prove to her. At the very least, that I see a woman, you saw a man, and we exchanged as such. And I truly believe that if black culture were to get out of the fight and just be, then we wouldn't have any of these issues. I would be able to pick up the black fight as we started. I'd be able to pick up the black fight and get into the black fight on everything, because I'm just being me, y'all just being y'all. We staying out of each other's lane, and we come together where it makes sense. Same thing over here. If people would just be, mind your own fucking business, then we will all be in a place where we could be fully in all of our nuances, because we are fully in all of the experience of our lives. But I absolutely truly believe from, and the interesting thing is, the first time you asked this question, conscious, about my take on straight men, the only person I came to mind was my barber, because he is toxically masculine, but he does an amazing fade, so I just deal with it. But the gotcha is, anytime engaged with somebody who is insecure around me because I'm one of the gays, because I'm one of the girls, it is because you are insecure because I'm one of the girls. Your insecurity don't change me, bro. I'm just trying to get my hair cut.
I thought this is what I think. I think that because the black community is so used to being under attack and being under siege, and we feel like there's always already been an attack on the black family structure, I think that a lot of straight cis people and people that's listening to this, when I say cisgender, I'm talking about, does this mean you identify with the gender you were assigned at birth? Recognizing that a doctor assigns you male or female at birth, and we acknowledging there are people that don't identify with the gender they were assigned at birth. That's when I say that I'm not calling nobody a sissy. I want to make sure I'm being clear with that. But to my point, I think that a lot of people in the community identify black queer people and their presence as being a threat to the black community, because reproduction, or because they believe that the white man created transness or the white man created homosexuality, and thus for your mere existence is an attack on the structure. And I think that a lot of times, or at least when I'm in like these conscious spaces and places, or these uber pro-black spaces and places, I find that correlation happens. You know what I'm saying? Would y'all agree, disagree, push back, add to it? What would you say?
Let me say this. I hope I'm not talking too much, but I just want to add one thing. The one thing that I hold the most dear, the most true to myself, is deep down in my spirit. Everybody on my team, everybody that knows me knows that I'll be like a fuck them quick, because I am too busy being myself to worry about anybody else being themselves. If you are insecure, if you think my sexuality, my expression, my whatever is made in some jar or concocted by some white man, that's great for you. If you believe 1 + 1 is 5, okay, do you?
The Willie Lynch letter, Jay, you are a living example of the Willie Lynch letter, and the white man was trying to make us gay and break us and trying to make us homosexual and feminine. And it's like, oh.
I don't have a dog in that fight, but the one thing I will offer to straight people, because again, you played that Funky Dynamic clip at the right time, is if you cannot see me, then don't be mad when I don't see you. That is the truth of my life. I will get in the fight where I am invited to the fight. I only sit in seats that were reserved for me. And so if, for instance, you, black culture, don't want to see, acknowledge, affirm, understand, agree with, even be adjacent to me, then I'll be at my motherfucking house where you can't do shit to me but knock on the door. And that is my truth. And I think the honest truth is I believe that black culture in general would be a lot further ahead in any fight that is put in front of us if we would mind our fucking business. All of this, all stigma is you over there creating a truth that is right for you and trying to give it to somebody else. And your truth is never going to be right for me. And until you can see your truth and I can respect mine, and then we can see each other, then we ain't going to get nowhere on any front for any reason.
Yeah. I just never want to underestimate how mob mentality operates and how there are certain things that folks can opt into because they already got some, you know what I'm saying, some whatever, they already got capital. So for instance, on YouTube, I think that there are a lot of bullshit ass mediocre. I'm talking about you are a horrible content creator, and the thing you good at doing is rage baiting at the expense of gay black men, trans black women, and you sorry as hell. You feel me? Mm-hmm. They recognize there is some capital for them to get and some credibility for them to get at the expense of other motherfuckers. And I feel like because that is something that is so popular, you know what I'm saying? It makes it where it's not just on the individual level of like, you got some insecurities. Because it starts to make it where now I can mobilize other people around my insecurities. That's the whole red pill, blue pill, gay agenda, hide your kids, hide your wife. They got gay cartoons now, this, that, and the other. To me, it's like people talk about those things. It becomes now about structural. Because now you're trying to get in the shit where you're trying to create a mob mentality, or you're trying to get people to act in a certain way at the expense of somebody else for you. You feel me? To me, it's like when T.I. was making the comments about, you know what I'm saying, the LGBT community. It's like, bro, you doing that because you're trying to get cultural capital from niggas at the expense of other niggas. And I think that a part of the analysis has to account for that.
That's the t-shirt. You trying to get culture capital from niggas at the expense of other niggas. Put that on one of them little Instagram quotes on Canva. Share that. I'll put that on my story in a heartbeat.
Hey man, if some of us ain't free, none of us ain't free. And what I know as a straight black man growing up in Bryan, Texas, that there are a lot of my counterparts that would love to just be free, to just stand on your back and your shoulders, and you just get along with it. And I think that's one of the ways where people start talking about pandering. Oh, you're pandering because you are talking about this community too much. I do think that pandering can become an issue, but I think that a lot of times when the accusation of pandering is thrown, it's usually thrown in a way because people feel like what you're talking about is dishonoring their masculinity and manhood. Like, nigga, you trying to do something for the gays? dishonor, 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 dishonor. And it's like, what can we do with that? So with that being said, I got a question. What are two of like the worst examples y'all can think of when it comes to allyship? It's like two bad examples. People watching, they say they want to become a better ally. What are two things that like you should not be doing this, saying this? I know you got good intentions, but this is a no-no.
Miss Hope, we definitely gonna start with you.
Hope get together all the time on these. Like Hope makes me, yeah.
I don't like. I'm sorry. A lot of days I got it in me, and today ain't one of them. Like a lot of days I got it in me, and I don't have it. I ain't got it in me. I think that
respect that.
I shouldn't have to tell people how to be decent people. Like I shouldn't have to tell people to not be rude for no reason. Like a lot of people that are mad with trans people have never met a real trans person in their entire life. You've never shared space with somebody. You've never, accidentally even bumped into a trans person, but you mad. It makes you upset. Like it grinds your fucking gears as if this person shot your grandma in your face and you never got a chance to get your get back. And that doesn't make it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't compute to me. And what's really interesting is that when you try to tell them and you compare those things to racism, because there are white people who have never met a Black person. They've only seen Black people on television, in the magazines, by accident on an ad somewhere. And they are viscerally upset at knowing that that Black person exists just because they're Black. Not because they've done anything to them, not because they've harmed them in any sort of way. And then when you tell people like that's the same thing, they're like, but it's not the same thing because the Bible says, okay, but the Bible also told white people that they were supreme. The Bible also told white people that it was okay to enslave us. The Bible also told white people that it was cool for them to treat us as lesser beings and that it was okay to own people. The Bible justified a lot of their bullshit when it came to racism. And still you lean on that as your reason for hating. But if I take away the Bible, and this is a question that also like gets a lot of them riled up. If I take away the Bible and I ask you, what was your personal issue? What issue do you have? Why do you have such an issue with these folks? Well, I just don't like it because my mama told me, no, not what your mama told you to believe, not what your granddaddy told you to believe, not what that nigga that you want to be like told you to believe. What is your personal issue with queer people? A lot of them can't tell you. And the some of them that have issues don't have issues because they don't like it. A lot of them have issues with the fact that in this day and age, and what I'm about to piss some of y'all off because some of y'all are finna knock at your front door. A lot of you all have issue and take issue with the fact, especially around this trans woman conversation and the visibility of trans women, because a lot of y'all are fucking the girls. A lot of y'all have been on Jacked and Grindr and Scruffed and BGC in the ads for years. And a lot of you all have benefited from the fact that the girls have been told for years that we ain't worth nothing, that ain't nobody gonna love us, that the best that we gonna get is a DL man shoving our face in the pillow at 4:00 in the morning, that we have to do this, that we have to do that the only way that we're gonna receive any sort of normality is to accept what you're gonna give us. And so a lot of y'all, and I want a lot of my cisgender women who are so upset that I exist, I want you to listen to this too, sis. They're not mad because we're coming to take your place. They're not mad about the fact that we're trying to rewrite femininity. These niggas don't give a fuck about femininity for real. They don't care about your womanhood for real. They're upset because they're losing access to women, because at the end of the day, now that trans women have space and that we're getting loved and less people have all of these issues with being seen with us in public, they're losing access to their 3:00 booty call and they free therapy sessions, because that's what a lot of the trans girls do for them. Because a lot of the girls are now starting to say, I am on a date. I can't come to your house at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm with my nigga. No, you can't sneak me into your grandma's house. I'm with somebody that actually is not afraid to be seen with me on a vacation. No, I don't want to suck your dick behind the Dairy Queen no more. And that is why a lot of these men are truly upset at the visibility that trans women are getting. Because the more normal it becomes, the less of them that have access to the girls that they truly like, the less of them that have access to the therapy that they actually need for free, and the more of them that are starting to realize that your late night booty call, the trans girlfriend that you've had and been stringing her along for 7 years, are no longer at your disposal, and it's pissing them off. They don't want us to go back in the closet because they hate us so much. They want us to go back in the closet because they love us that much, and they cannot stand to see us thriving outside of a space that makes us feel like we have to settle for bullshit in order to be loved.
And what I know from having meaningful relationships with trans women is a lot of y'all be capping and faking in line, especially when we start talking about disclosure, and it make you where we don't have real genuine conversations. You know what I'm saying? Me being an ally of trans women, when I talk to non-trans people, specifically my fellow straight cisgender people, they always talk about the concept of disclosure. Well, bro, when she gonna tell me? When she gotta tell me? Right now, there is a clip of this trans woman talking to Torre about how she don't tell men that she's trans until the second date. And of course, all the blog sites picking up on this. For me, when it comes to disclosure, I think that people should disclose whether or not you will kill a trans woman, whether or not you will beat up a trans woman. I think that should be the first thing disclosed before we start thinking about whether you are trans or not. I think this gets to what Jay was talking about as well, is that there is a perception of your manhood and masculinity that you have structured. And you believe the way people could correlate you potentially to trans women, that they could come at your masculinity and manhood and you can't deal with that, or you don't want to deal with it. Mm-hmm. So you create these narratives that you were tricked. And in fact, I seen some on Facebook, you know what I'm saying, a couple of days ago, I think it was Nino Brown talking about this guy that got charged for killing a trans woman because he said that she was tricked. It was like, in 2024, we have a big election coming up. Mm. And the thing I'm worried about is that there has been an alt-right pipeline that the white folks masterfully structured that allows for a lot of niggas that talk like me, look like me, walk like me, dress like me, get caught up in that conservative shit that's going to do some things that is anti-black under the guise of them being anti-trans or anti-gay. And I think that because they being like lost in the sauce of hating people inside of our community more than you actually love people in our community, I think it makes me where I'm just worried what 2024 will look like, especially if you got people that are more worried about drag queens reading to kids in libraries than you are what your kid being taught in the school. You're more worried about legislation being passed for, you feel me, trans women in you know what I'm saying, in school than you are like bullets hitting your classroom or bullets hitting your kids in the school. And it's just like, I'm very worried as a straight nigga that cares about politics, that recognize that my livelihood politically, socially, economically is impacted based off of who's in office, who's superintendent, who's the sheriff, who's the DA. It's like I'm worried about that, and I think that in this conversation, it's worth acknowledging the elephant in the room as being like, hey, this election time, y'all be mindful of what these blog sites is posting, especially when they start sensationalizing gay, trans, bisexual, lesbians. Like, don't get tricked.
I do think that we have a culture that values camaraderie based on what we are against, based over what we are for, and I also agree with you.
I'm sorry. I'm messing with the sounds now.
But I also agree that one most profound thing that I heard you say, Conscious, is that legislation will be passed that is intended to be anti-trans or anti-LGBT, and it'll end up swooping in things that are important to straight black people or black culture in general, and then we'll feel as if the wool is being pulled over our eyes when really we walked we walked eyes open, flat-footed into it. And I think that is epidemic level issue in black culture, because for some reason I absolutely acknowledge that this white supremacist society we live in thrives when we are shattered, when we are not unified as black culture. But for some reason, at to your point, Conscious, it seems as if black culture has taken that mantle and ran with it and would prefer for us to be separate and unequal than unified and a powerhouse to deal with any of the issues that beset our communities. And they are not issues that are just LGBTQ focused, not issues that are just black focused. They are issues that impact every single one of us. And the one thing that I think is so powerful, especially about this conversation, but also about the issues that are in front of us, is that the three of us represent three very, very different pieces of our culture. But
Yeah.
the one common thread between us is we are unequivocally black. Now, we can be black with black plus, but we are three black people that have very different experiences, that come from very different parts of the country, that deal with life very differently, but nothing can equivocate the fact that we are black. But for some reason, I'll take the mantle for the girls that there are many issues that affect trans people that we are silent on, even though we are supposed to be part of the same culture. And there are even more issues that affect LGBTQ people that black culture is silent on. And I don't get it. I don't understand why. And unfortunately, I don't really know how we fix it, because the second that I met someone who told me they were trans, I was changed.
Yeah.
The second that I saw my sister, my mama, my sister-in-law, my niece as women, then all of a sudden women's health becomes an issue to me. The second that I saw my dad as an immigrant, and now immigration is an issue to me. So the second that my eyes get open to something, then it changes who I am. But it feels as if black folk of all walks want to keep their eyes closed to so many so they can just be mad at some shit. And that is fucked up.
There's a sinister game that is played with Black people, but I think that there's an even more sinister game that is played in the actual Black community, where it's the need to pretend that we don't know so that we can continue to play oppressor within the systems that we have control of. And I think that what people
Control in that
recognize
sentence is doing a lot of heavy lifting, sis. Control.
I think that if we are honest, because of the trauma that we go through daily as Black people, and a system that tells us that our very existence isn't worth protecting, that our issues are not worth hearing, fighting for, justifying, owning, and a system where we can literally have somebody call someone out for their appearance and then be upset because social media then took and ran when that same thing happened back to them. And now they get to cry wolf when the person who was attacked first is now being seen as a bully in this situation.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
when we have to sit with that reality, I think that, am I surprised that in some way, shape, or form we want to kind of sort of play crabs in the bucket, fuck it? No. But does that make it right? And is that the way that we gonna do this? Is the way out of this to say, I'm going to mimic the very system that I hate so much. I'm gonna mimic it within this subculture of a system while trying to get out of it, and understanding in one breath that we are stronger together and that numbers equate to a better outcome, while killing off the people that want to be in the number.
Whew.
You understand that we are stronger together, but at the same time, you want to tell Black women you're not fit to lead because you're too masculine. You understand that we're stronger together, but at the same time, you want to tell Black men that they zesty and sassy because they wear pink and they want to paint their nails.
Yeah.
You understand that we're stronger together, but you want to tell queer people that they can't come to the march and bring their flag because that's detraction from what we really here to talk about, even though all of the issues in one way or another are intertwined, because suppression is suppression is suppression is suppression. And if you got Black skin, you are suppressed from the day that you are born. When you add on the rest of the caveats, those things are just adjectives that add on to the reason for why we should be working together to end the suppression so that we can have the numbers to beat the system. Everybody want to talk about the system, but we're not doing the thing that we are constantly saying that we need to be doing to beat it, because we're too busy trying to mimic that very system in our own way and killing ourselves for them.
And what I recognized during 2020, 2021, there was a lot of camaraderie and unity amongst Black folks. And there was a lot of conversations that came up from that unity. One of them being that a lot of Black women, a lot of Black queer people did not feel safe in those spaces when we marching, when we rallying, when we doing our thing for Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, you name it. And it's something to be said that these people are present. Black queer people, Black trans people, Black people are present during these rallies, these marches.
Present and running shit.
Present and running shit. So when people beg the question, it's like, oh, man.
But the interesting thing is, like, most of the activists that I followed in those in like the darkest times, when like Ferguson and whatnot. No, I don't even want to call those the darkest times, because people are still dying left and right every day. So let me not call those the darkest times. But when I think of Ferguson, I think of like DeRay McKesson, who is queer. Most of the activists that like got the girl, I don't want to say the girls, but got us together to do and move in the right direction were queer. Black Lives Matter and whatnot were queer all across the country. And then the idea that you fast forward and all of a sudden it's drag queens can't read to, like you were saying, drag queens can't read to kids, and trans people are outlawed, or cross-dressing, which is not even trans, but cross-dressing and being drag in public is now outlawed. Women's health is being outlawed for all these fucked up ass reasons. But the interesting thing, and I don't know why I thought about this while you were saying this, Conscious, but
I'm looking for this video too. Don't mind me. I'm looking for this video.
I go to an affirming church here in Atlanta, right? And 3 people that are in my church all the time, they shout the house down because whatever, that is how the spirit hits them, right? But they went to this other church. They went to New Birth, Jamal Bryant's church. And, you know, he got full cameras, the whole nine. So they are on film shouting the house down as they do. And you go to this one clip, and all the comments are Black folk talking about Jaworski, one of the people talking about his frilly, he was wearing a blouse, or how this is performative, and all of these things. And in my head, I go back to how on the plantations, the only thing they gave us was the Bible, and all of the issues that came around that. And now we have taken the mantle and used the Bible to demonize anybody else inside a church trying to get his or her or their breakthrough. It doesn't make sense that we are so hell-bent on what we are against that we don't realize any aspect of who we are for. And that doesn't compute to me. It really doesn't. But
just hold on, though. Hold on, because y'all keep on saying shit, and then when you say something, I'm like, why do I have something that remind me of this? You know what I'm saying? Before we start getting into like the HIV awareness part of the conversation, you know what I'm saying? I definitely want to get into that. We might go a little over an hour, y'all. I'm sorry, but listen, this right here, I know that we have a lot of people right now here on Twitter, and we know that Twitter can be a very educational but toxic place. Oh, yeah. I think that this video I'm about to show right now is going to push the conversation a little further in terms of intersectionality about the LGBT community and Blackness, queerness and Blackness. Y'all ready for this?
I don't know.
Hope you already seen it, I think.
Okay. LBG, you. And you ain't gonna make me feel some type of way. Y'all not doing nothing for the hood. You got rainbows everywhere. Okay, so what? Where's the fucking pot of gold? Rainbow. Okay, all these rainbows. Where's the gold? Okay, you like to suck like you put. You want to wear dresses, a nigga? Cool. What institutions are you building in the hood? I went to a homosexual meeting, and they was talking about the BLM shit, right? And I was the only straight man in a room of homosexuals, and I said, all right, cool. Why are we not talking about certain shit? Why are we not talking about building institutions? Why are we not talking about having our own supermarkets, our own hospitals, our own banks? Why are we not talking about our own country? Like, what are y'all? Why y'all keep talking about what you do in the bedroom? I get it. You like this freaky nigga, but what do your has to do with bullets leaving a cop gun hitting that black boy? What does your tongue have to do with the fact that we don't have our own hospitals, we don't have our own corner stores, we don't have no fucking businesses? Why y'all keep talking about sex all the fucking time? Oh my God, just let me be me. All right, so you suck nigga. Okay, we get it. How is you sucking dick affecting our community? Is there laws in place to tell you, don't put your dick in his ass? Well, I could walk down the block and lose my life for being black. Why are we not talking about that? I could walk down the block and literally lose my life for looking like this. And y'all talking about what dick sucking and what coochie you licking. And that's the argument? No, y'all trying to distract the fuck out of me. They say homophobic. I only fear God. Phobia means fear. I don't fear nothing but God. I'm not afraid because you like dick.
Okay, hold on, because I just want to make sure I'm understanding this person's argument. So he starts out saying, you want to dress like a nigga. I'm assuming he's talking about a woman dressing like a man. And then he's saying he's talking about you want to wear a dress. And I'm assuming in his head it's some person he would say is a man dressing like a woman. So he starts the conversation talking about
in drag queen.
how you express, how you present, right? That's the beginning of the conversation. Then he goes through all this bullshit and ends at the end saying, I can get killed by looking the way I look, by him looking the way he looks. So he can't understand that there are laws against someone looking a different way. And he is expecting, I'm assuming at this homosexual meeting, whatever the fuck that means, because I hold a homosexual meeting every Thursday at 8. So there's that. But
Dear gay black man, if y'all have
he doesn't understand. He absolutely doesn't get the correlation between the issues beset people who express differently than him and the people who look and walk and talk like him. He doesn't get the people are dying on every front. And that is what
his own rant. He's saying there are no LGBT community has created no institutions in the hood. And then you name a LGBTQ institution that was impacting you in the hood. You said BLM, huh? You just named an institution right there.
But the gotcha is, I know many gay supermarkets. I know many gay. There are a whole bunch of LGBTQ stuff. Now, I would say that I, as a black person, am absolutely welcome in those spaces. But I know many institutions that are in their hood. I would really like to know how many supermarkets did he open, if any. And is he only putting the responsibility of fixing these issues on people that do not look like him? Because that chain on around his neck, unless it was fake, probably could have put somebody through school at a semester or something. That hat on his head, the shoes probably on his feet. Not that we saw them. The clothes on his back, he could have done sold into his culture just the same as I could sold into mine. I don't. That is one of the reasons why I say that I do not engage with people who do not make sense. Now, if you have a cogent argument, I engage with you all day, but I don't engage with people who don't make sense. And but to your point, Conscious, what you said earlier though is there is this mob mentality where people can get on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, on whatever platform, have these dumbass arguments, find other dumbass people to get behind them, and then next thing you know, they're a mob. And that happens on both sides, because I can name just as many dumbass gay folk that the top of consciousness is one that one Hope responded to a couple weeks ago. But there are many dumb gay folk, many dumb LGBTQ folk that do the exact same thing. And that's the unfortunate part about it. We are not exempt from being asinine.
Every group of people have idiots and assholes. It's something I accepted at a very young age.
God protects babies and fools, and they know baby.
That video was funny to me because I think that in the very breaths that he seeks to like be this like radical, like it reminds me very much so of the gaslighting that Kevin Hart tried to do when he was in the barbershop with Lil Nas X and was like, so he's gay, so what? After you literally had been canceled for half of a season of your life because you said that you would literally drop a dollhouse over your son's head. But now it's, oh, he's gay, so what? Because Ellen DeGeneres told you that you were forgiven. Let's be very clear about the fact that these
And he had
people
to
love,
sit down with Lee Daniels.
look here, they love to be obtuse about the ideation that being queer is a problem for y'all. You have an issue with the fact that people are queer, and that is the reason why you made that whack ass, weak ass commentary of a video anyway. That is the whole purpose of why you made that video. So in the very same notion that you're talking about you don't care and that you don't understand why this is a thing, you're showing us why it's a thing. Your opinion, your stance, all of these things are a thing. But then let's be very clear, and I also want to just equip with every queer person and every ally and every person out there, please stop using homophobic and transphobic. I'm trying to transition y'all to using mythic. And while I understand that phobia and phobic has a very gratuitous meaning that a lot of these people don't understand, right? Let's call them what they are, right? Because you're right. You're not scared, but you mystic as fuck. You have an unfounded hatred for something and somebody for absolutely no motherfucking reason. And so I'm not gonna say that you're homophobic. I'm gonna say you're homomistic. I'm not gonna say that you're that you're transphobic. I'm gonna say you're transmissic because you are. You have an unfounded hatred or aversion for trans people. That is what you are. And when you hit a bitch with that new vocabulary, then they can't dodge and they can't gaslight you with that bullshit that is just used to move the goalpost in the conversation when they realize that they're losing. When they realize that you are making sense, all they want to do is then move the goalposts. And so this new I'm not phobic, phobic means that I'm afraid of some shit, is another way to move the goalposts so they can find something else in the midst of their mind to try to de-justify.
Yeah, they be fake ass linguists though, because it's like when you look at the suffix phobic, it's defined as fear and aversion. Aversion is this you have bit into the textbook definition of an aversion, and now you phobic. But I agree with you from a debate standpoint, as a debate coach. From a debate coach, it's like, hey, I don't even care to deal with the baggage that this term has. So I'm going to introduce a new terminology into the dialogue to force you to respond to what I'm saying, and not you go back in your lexicon of the old bullshit ass speaking points you got about fear, about this, that, and the other. I want you to respond to me and what I'm saying here at this moment, and not some copy and pasted YouTube video you seen last week about how you not fear nothing, you only fear Jesus. That's cool, nigga. But you know what I'm saying? Stop.
How you fear Jesus, but you got 5 baby mamas with no wedding ring in sight. You fear Jesus, but you got 17 tattoos on that temple. You fear Jesus, but you literally left the fucking fish boil before you got your ass on that camera. You fear Jesus, but you're wearing a hat in the indoors as a man. You fear Jesus, but you stole the entire time that you were up there in your 20s. That's all you fucking did. You fear Jesus, but you're literally cheating on your baby mama with somebody else right now. And the second you finish filming that movie, or the second that you finish filming that podcast, you went and fucked somebody that was not the girl that you had promised yourself to. So when I think about the ideations about when people want to talk about Jesus and who they fear and who they you pick and choose that shit when you want to be able to villainize somebody, but you don't get to villainize me because I've decided that it's okay for you to see my sin. Because if I open up your fucking closet and I show people what you got going on, you'll be real quiet. The only difference is queer people have enough fucking courage to step outside knowing that people are going to be able to cast judgment and say, we don't give a fuck because it's more important for me to be happy than it is for me to live in your stuff.
Yeah, I think that to my Christian people that's watching this right now, it's not a disrespect to what you got going on specifically, but it is a disrespect to the way that we weaponize different parts of the word and you treat it like Chex Mix. For me, our culture has very, and not only Black culture, but American culture writ large has a lot of ways that are anti-Bible that is literally a part of our everyday culture. You feel me? Whether we're talking about mixing fabrics, whether we talk about eating pork, whether we talking about, you know what I'm saying, doing things on the Sabbath. To me, it's always mind-boggling how we would sensationalize being gay or Adam and Eve and Steve. And it's like a whole bunch of adultery, stealing and lying and killing going on. But somehow you didn't deviate that. I knew it was some bullshit when my kids and all the little Black kids specifically had no issue. Hip TikTok when I dance on that demon time, I might start our OnlyFans. Dancing to it. Lil Nas X take his gay ass down a pole and all of a sudden going too far. What about the kids? Your kids was just swinging their hips to demon time and smoking op packs. Now the gay going down the strip club, it's too far now. Now you have selective moral outrage.
The funny thing, I will say, and this is a little adjacent to this conversation, but one thing that I respect about the two of y'all is y'all will speak some truth to power. And I think that is so, like, I have so much admiration for that because, like, I host a podcast for gay people, for Black gay men by Black gay men. So I am talking to a homogenous audience by and large of us. And the idea that I would have to take that argument outside my little microcosm of a community is not, I'm not phobic, but I'm phobic. I'm not afraid of it, but I have an aversion to it. Because I also think that gay men got some work we got to do on ourselves in order for us to show up in any of these spaces more whole. I think sometimes I'm ashamed of the lack of presence that we have when it comes to protecting the rights of women and people of trans experience. I'm ashamed of the fact that we are absent from conversations about marriage and about all these things, that we leave that to white people. We leave the LGBT fight to the white people, and by and large we leave the Black fight to the straight people, and then we complain about it inside the culture. And I appreciate that the two of y'all take so much time, effort, and energy to ensure that the conversation goes outside of the echo chamber. That Conscious, you can talk to, you talk to all of us about the things that tie us together, the issues that create synergy and unity among Black folks, and hope that you're able to speak to trans and cis audiences about the issues that connect us. And I think that is, my head is off to y'all.
Appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it.
I don't even know. Sometimes I don't have the same kind of commentary because the work that I do, the activism, if you could call it that, is trying to get us to see us, and y'all are trying to get the us that y'all deal with is a lot bigger. It connects cultures, and I think that's amazing.
Appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it. And in the art of connecting conversations and culture, all three of us are doing a partnership with HVTN, HIV Vaccine Trial Network, and this month is Pride Month. The reason why I wanted to have this conversation is because I was going to do videos about Pride Month, but as a straight man, you feel me, talking about Pride Month in correlation with HIV, it just felt pathological and icky to me, because I recognize that a lot of the pathology that comes from HIV and HIV awareness is usually projected onto the gay community. You know what I'm saying? So it felt like, damn, nigga, why are you trying to compare? We get you talk about gay stuff all the time, talk about AIDS all the time, HIV. Why do you put those two things together now? And the reason I'm saying this is because the first time I ever posted about Trans Visibility Day, Hope said something to me on the side that really stuck with me. And this is like 2 or 3 years ago. You feel me? But what she said to me is that, hey, Lee, when you talking about trans women, trans people in general, don't only talk about us in correlation to violence and suffering and shit. You feel me? We enjoy our lives as well. Trans Visibility Day is not just for you to talk about the pain and violence and the suffering that trans people go through. Also capture our joy. So for me, it's like, hey, I just didn't want to do that and wanted to have a more rounded conversation to also capture different parts of it, but not make it where I feel like I'm just being tropey. Like these
it would be like only talking about slavery on Juneteenth.
You say what?
It would be like only talking about slavery on Juneteenth.
Or bringing up HIV awareness uniquely for Juneteenth.
Right.
Let's be like,
I get it, because we live very full lives. All of us.
What are we doing here? And that's the reason I want that to have this conversation. But in that light, you feel me? What are things that y'all have found the most challenging in talking about HIV on y'all platforms?
The assumption that we're all sex workers and hoes, and that, you know, that's just what we're bound to get it because that's all trans women are good for. Which simultaneously is funny, because if we're fucking and we're not fucking the gay boys, then who are we fucking and getting the HIV from? But that's a whole different conversation.
I'll drink to that.
Because I'm like, if y'all think that we just fucking and that's all we good for and we catching HIV, you know, gay boys don't like girls of any kind. So who we fucking and catching it from? But anyway, but I think that's been the biggest thing for me is being the person that gets to dispel that, because I tell people all the time, I'm not your stereotype. And you don't get to like do and say all the things that you would normally get to say. I got a husband. I'm perfectly fine with that husband. I've never had to sell my ass or my body in any way, shape, form, or capacity. I got 2 nice degrees. I don't have to do nothing I don't want to do. Most of the time, I'm not wearing a wig. And if I am wearing a wig, it is a textured one because I want to make sure that I'm like, it's one of those, right. It's very like, you don't get to do and throw all those gauntlets at me that you would get to throw at a stereotypical trans woman. And it's not to say that those girls aren't valuable, but I think that especially when we're talking about HIV as, you know, trans people, the thing that a lot of folks like to say is, well, if y'all weren't living those risky lives and if you weren't doing the things that you do, you wouldn't have that. And so y'all deserve it. And it's interesting to have to constantly, one, dispel that narrative, but then also, two, to remind people that the girls that are in sex work are usually some of the cleanest bitches you're gonna ever meet. They the ones that are in the clinic getting their, you know, weekly checkups, getting their 3 months on, you know, on every 3 months, on the 3 months, you ain't gonna catch them not using like some of the girls that are in sex work are cleaner than the girls that's down the street talking about them, and cleaner than the nigga that you in the bed with right now, who's depending on your STI and STD results to tell him if he's clean. Like, though, like, and it's just really interesting when we have those conversations to have to dispel that and to remind people that while one, that is one version of the way that trans women live, it is not the only version. And two, just because a trans woman might live that, it doesn't mean that she's inherently going to end up with it. And if she does, it doesn't mean that it's a death sentence or some sort of gift from God for being trans.
Yeah. What's been here today?
As you're talking about all that hope, gay men deal with a lot of the same things that, you know, straight culture would say that, you know, HIV is God trying to do some type of course correction. First, God don't make no motherfucking mistakes, so he ain't got to course correct any goddamn thing. But I also think that the the hard part in dealing with gay men, ironically, is gay men don't talk about sex comfortably. A lot of us have sex comfortably, but we don't talk about sex. The best advice that I got was from my mentor, my very first mentor. His name is Kirk Myers, and he's since gone on. But Kirk Myers gave me my very first HIV test when I was 19 years old. And he told me, go with me here, but he told me that you can't go through your life afraid of HIV. You have to acknowledge that HIV is a normal part of our culture, black gay culture. We can't get around that. And so if you're afraid of it, you're gonna end up being one of the girls that say, I'm gonna use condoms every time and nothing else, and then you have a slip up every other time. Or you're gonna be the one of the girls that can't think logically and subjectively about the type of sex you engage in and what you like and what you don't like, because you're always gonna be reacting to fear. And so he freed me from the fear of HIV so that I could then make actual decisions about how to protect myself from HIV. So then I could get on PrEP when it became available. So I could use condoms effectively. So I can think with my head and not with my dick or my asshole. Like all of those things Kirk freed me to do. And so ever since then, I've been talking about sex every chance I get because I don't have any shame around it. I don't have any shame around the type of sex that I have, who I have sex with, what I like to do, what I don't like to do, all of the things that contribute to people just kind of meandering into these risky situations. And so I would say that the hardest part about engaging in a conversation about HIV is because a lot of us black gay men specifically have so much shame around sex and sexuality and so much fear around HIV that we can't see anything beyond that. So then when we get horny, that is the first time that any of that trumps all the fear we've been dealing with, and now we just dealing with ecstasy and dopamine overload, when really we should have made a whole bunch of other decisions so that when we get horny we can we can still be mindful and safe. So the hardest part is just not enough of us are okay talking about sex. Now I'll add one more layer to that. When you have issues around talking about sex, when you go into that doctor's office or that clinic and you sitting across from that nurse who says shit like you don't have normal sex because you ain't fucking girls, or that doctor who doesn't talk about PrEP or doesn't talk about gonorrhea or chlamydia in your throat or your anus because he's just gonna assume you straight because he's normal, or you're not able to advocate for yourselves in these health environments because you dealing with fear, they dealing with homo
Missia.
missia. See, I'm learning. And then we can't engage. And so I'm not talking about my actual activity, my actual behavior, my actual health. You not talking about my actual activity, my actual behavior, my actual health. And we end up just trying to get out of the doctor's office if you went to the doctor in the first place. So it's just I thank Kirk Myers every single day, because the reason why I'm not living with HIV today is because he told me when I was 19, before I had ever had sex, and he gave me my first HIV test. He said, you got to let go of that fear, because that fear is gonna be what walks you. And the only reason he could say that is because he told me that is how he contracted HIV. He was afraid of it. He didn't have any information. He didn't have any knowledge. And so he was constantly reacting to the world around him. And the best prevention advice had nothing to do with condoms, had nothing to do with pills or needles or getting tested. It was just, you got to let go of you got to be able to see the world around you as it is.
Man, before I even say what has been difficult for me, I think that I want to respond to some things you said, because it's some deep shit up in there, especially because I know I have a lot of straight people watching this live stream, and I know how my fellow straight people clutch our pearls when we hear about non-straight people mentioning the word sex. You feel me? So just want to think about how in our culture there are celebratory phenomenons. If I start this song, y'all gonna be able to finish it for me. I got an ass so big like the sun.
I hope you got a mouth for it. I want to run.
That is a song of a straight person being very explicit about what type of sex they like, and it's seen as being cool. You feel me? Slob on my knob, like corn
on the motherfucking
These are
cob.
examples of straight people being able to unapologetically talk about sexing, being sex, and doing a deed. It's something very criminal and deviant around non-heterosexual sex that makes it where we don't have climates for us to talk about PrEP, for us to talk about these different ways that people have sex that's not just heterosexual. And I think that my fellow straight
know what PrEP is.
No, That's what the thing that I want y'all to explain. The thing for me as a straight person with my audience, you know what I'm saying, being like, mixed in, is that there are a lot of my fellow straight people that are completely ignorant to how advanced HIV treatment has become. And there are a lot of my fellow straight people that have been so lost in the sauce of homomisia. Say that right? Homomisia, right? So lost.
We learning.
Think that it's just some gay shit. You feel me? It's like AIDS. That's what the gay folks do. We straight. We don't deal with that right there. And it's just like,
the funny thing about all of that is there are so many things that straight people could benefit from. Because I will tell you, I do know a lot of straight people who do not fear HIV the way that Black gay culture does. But they'll fear some syphilis and some gonorrhea and chlamydia. And the interesting thing about it is HIV prevention gave us DoxyPep, which could prevent all of those STDs. HIV prevention and talking about this gay ass sex that people be having gave us access to creating some strides that will help all of us prevent a whole bunch of things. But until we get comfortable talking to gay people about sex, because I will acknowledge that the HIV prevention field is dominated by the girls, and by girls I mean people who are LGBTQIA+. But until we get comfortable talking to the girls about sex, or the girls talking about sex in their presence, none of y'all gonna be able to move forward. Because I can't tell you the last time I've been in a room full of the girls and I said PrEP and people were like, what's that? That ain't never happened. Not in the last 5 years.
I can almost done. But yeah, man.
Because you're a dad.
Yeah. My son pulled up on me real fast. Now you good. We trying to make it where my kids hear the things in my home first, the way I can have some real transparent conversations with them and not some stranger. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And what I know about my kids and this damn YouTube specifically is that they come across all type of videos and shit. And I like for them to hear some things from mommy and daddy first sometimes. So even though they hella young, us talking about like HIV and STDs, is, you know what I'm saying? I think, it's a part of the cultural lexicon. Maybe 8 years old is probably young, but also it's like they seen it on the timeline. Like I know what my children, but I don't have control over what they see and not see on that damn YouTube shit that's happening. So it's just like, a part of a conversation about allyship to me is about starting with the kids, because a lot of times the children is what get weaponized in these conversations.
Yeah.
I ain't got no problem with sexuality, but don't push it on the kids. Whole time my kids watch Disney movies. I think that 20% of Disney movies don't have heterosexual romance and grooming in it or courting in it. You know what I'm saying? 20%. The other 80% is like, you're going to see some romance, heterosexual.
Because the funny thing is, my first crush was Aladdin. My first crush was Aladdin. And then after that, it was Hercules, the cartoon. So let's be clear. But one thing I tell people all the time is, could you imagine if you was like, oh, my dad's consciously? Like one day your kid is going to be on the stage somewhere saying, my dad is consciously. Can you believe that?
I cannot believe that. Actually.
That has to be the coolest dad ever. You are going to go down as the coolest dad ever. My dad is consciously. Your kid you're going to have to go to a parent teacher conference. And they're going to be like, oh, my God, you're consciously. Can you imagine one day somebody might say, my mom's Hope Giselle. That's who my mom is. I don't know if that's in the cards for y'all because, again, I ain't going to get into your bedroom, Hope. But I'm just saying, one day, if you have kids, they're going to say, my mom's Hope Giselle. What's your mom's name? Hope Giselle. Can you believe that?
I was gonna say the Hope, right? Because people always have to clarify.
That's what That's what the teacher gonna say back. The Hope Giselle. Yes, my mom is Hope Giselle, and they probably gonna be so upset about it. Yes, my mom is Hope Giselle.
And I can't wait.
But yeah, that was my little aside.
Yeah, man. Well, before we get up out of here, let the people know where to follow y'all at. You know what I'm saying? What projects I got working on. I think that this conversation reached up to 2,000 people at one time. Shout out to everybody on Twitter. Y'all really rocking with us on Twitter in this conversation. But so people on the playback and the 1,600 people are saying right now, what can they find you at?
All right, so y'all can find me everywhere at Hope Giselle. It's not spelled funny. It's HOPGISELLE. No Z's, no J's, no none of that. Just Hope Giselle. And if you are truly in support of the community, or if you're one of the girls, the boys, whatever, we are having the Trans Visibility March here in DC, August the 23rd or 22nd through the 24th. So come out, show love. It's a national march. If you can get yourself to DC, make sure you're there. If you are in New York, there will be buses that will get you there. So there's no reason to not be here. Come out, show love. Let's do this together. Let's make sure that the trans folks know that it's more than just us in that space. And buy both of my books. They all on Amazon and everywhere else. So
I don't have books, but I should have went first then. But my name is Jay the Gentleman. That's at JAI the Gentleman on IG, and I host Dear Black Gay Men podcast. We talk every single Thursday about sex, culture, and the gay lifestyle. Lifestyle didn't fit there. I don't like the word lifestyle, but
I was gonna say, don't do
one of the
that.
girls. We talk about being one of the girls. I go live tomorrow, and the season finale show is coming up on June 30th here in Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm very, very excited about that. We will be live and in color. And then, I mean, the three of us have a project that we might be working on, but we can't talk about that just yet. But you can follow me at JAI the Gentleman on IG and YouTube, and then Dear Black Gay Men is the name of the podcast on YouTube and everywhere.
I'm over yelling at kids in the background.
It's Hope HOPEGISELLE. If you type in,
congratulations, Hope, you just got married, girl.
I did just get married. I just got back from Greece. It was fun.
Didn't you go to London, or was it?
Yeah, I've been to a lot of places. Mind your business. Don't tell the. It's only look. I mean, first of all, you spelling it wrongly. You gonna have people looking up the wrong person.
This right here, right?
No, that ain't it.
That ain't it. You spelling it all the way wrong.
Hold on, put it in the comment section, and I put it right there, man.
Somebody already did.
The first one was right. Hope Giselle, HOPEGISELLE. That's it.
That's the one.
That's the one right there. I be fucking up sometimes, man.
You all the way fucked up. You gonna have people following the wrong person. They gonna be following somebody in India.
Hope Giselle.
Giselle. Hope Giselle.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, hey, oh yeah, I'm gonna tell them, and then I'll holler at y'all. Don't go nowhere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thank y'all for tuning in to the conversation, man. We're gonna be bringing this more. I feel like I want to go live more. You feel me? The thing is, I be moving around a lot. So let me know in the comment section, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, about if y'all be interested in going live more and what conversations y'all want to hear from me. You know what I'm saying? Can you dig it? Spontaneous percussion.